Welcome back to Inside City Hall. The Republican race for president took a dramatic turn this weekend as Newt Gingrich soundly defeated Mitt Romney in the South Carolina primary. Saturday's double-digit loss capped a very tough week for the Romney campaign as negative ads highlighting Romney's time at Bain Capital and questions over the release of his tax returns took a toll on the candidate. So, is Romney still the man to beat in the GOP presidential race? Here to discuss that topic and more are the four members of our Consultants Corner. We've got Republicans Susan Del Percio and Tom Doherty. Tom Doherty wearing a hat over there for some reason. And Democrats L. Williams and Matthew Hiltzik. Welcome to all of you. I got a question for all of you. If you've got a candidate, a client like a Mitt Romney, and you see the polls turning so very dramatically against you, it's rare to see that kind of a swing, 20 or 30 points in the space of, 5 days? You see this tsunami coming. What do you tell the candidate to do?
Listen to you, because my guess is that he wasn't listening to you in the first place, because any consultant would have told him to stand firm on one position on his tax returns. And my guess is that the consultants knew that this was coming, and he probably didn't want to deal with it head on until he was forced into it.
I mean, he had to deal with it in 1994. It's not like it was a surprise.
Right. His father had to deal with it. I mean, this was a self-inflicted loss for Mitt Romney, frankly. It wasn't, he created this problem for himself.
I slightly disagree. I mean, I think that, yes, there's some things that were foreseeable, but I think the other thing is that part of what's catching up to him is the fact that he doesn't really stand for anything, or he stands for everything. And I think that when you're looking at conservatives who are voting, whether, the personal issues about Newt Gingrich aside, the fact is he is a articulate, intelligent conservative who people may or may not agree with, but he has a pretty set point of view on at least more issues than Romney does, whereas Romney's running against himself from the time that he was governor of Massachusetts. And I think that that's a little more of a problem, that eventually that's going to catch up to you, because if people aren't comfortable with you, it's going to take these type of things to trigger that discomfort.
It's funny how that discomfort about his positions had nothing to do with South Carolina. I hear this constantly. I mean, Bill Clinton, and we all love Bill Clinton now, right? I mean, he took more positions than anybody in American politics. And it's good politics because, and I think Roosevelt said it way back when, is that, the politician who puts his legs in cement, when the shift in tide comes, gets his legs cut off. You got to be on the beach. Waves come.
FDR said that?
No, I think Teddy Roosevelt actually said it.
I thought Tom Coughlin might have said that.
Tom Coughlin might have said that, Matt. Is that, I mean, there's an ebb and flow to things, and people's positions do change. Romney got really hurt in this one on the tax, on his tax releases. And as Susan said, I mean, for God's sakes, you knew months, if not years ago, this is going to be an issue. Put it out in the middle of a night on Friday night. It's out. It's over. You answer it for a day. You move on. Not when you're getting ready to go into probably the biggest primary of your life. There's a lot of regrouping there. There's still time to do it for him because he's got races coming up, like in Arizona, Colorado, Michigan, et cetera. And there clearly is, when you have a governor like Christie who says that Newt Gingrich is an embarrassment to the party, there are some really strong feelings about this.
And besides that, in the tax return, and I agree with Susan, I think, put it out, get it over with, get it behind you, and why he didn't do that beforehand, and why announcing that he's not going to do it until Tuesday. Just put it out on Tuesday before the State of the Union and just go on.
Until April. That's the whole thing. That's what made him wish-washy. I agree with Tom. It wasn't the issues. It was he couldn't get his footing on the issue. I won't put it out till April.
Right.
Now I'll do it Tuesday.
It just didn't make any sense. And besides that, I think we're also missing the fact that besides it being about Mitt Romney and sort of his tax returns and where he stands on issues, there's also what Newt Gingrich and the other candidates have done that made him lose. And the debates over and over again, Newt Gingrich doing, the not so subtle race talk and demonization of people who are in poverty at this moment, sort of galvanized people to vote against Romney and vote for someone they felt that was standing up to someone. And at this point, it was Newt Gingrich standing up in their mind to the media for demonizing
Hopefully
him.
we can have fewer debates next time because of this.
Yeah, the Democrats have learned a very important lesson for 2016. Less debates.
Exactly.
Does the Newt Gingrich message travel outside of South Carolina? Because after all, he won 43 of 46 counties. I mean, it was
Look,
a decisive victory.
You have to look at there is. I agree that maybe triggered by some of the stuff about the tax returns, but I do believe it is a bigger discomfort that the party has. And I think if you look at it, there are times that Democrats have nominated someone who they were not fully comfortable with either, but it was sort of the best of the group. I mean, I think that there was a discomfort with, yes, exactly the example I was going to give with John Kerry was that he sort of like wanted to believe the guy, but there was something that just wasn't comfortable about him. And it just seems to me that there's a very similar.
Is not the, I mean, it's
no,
not
I agree.
radioactive for
I agree.
Republicans.
Look, I still think Romney will probably end up getting it because I think I find it hard to believe Republicans will be that self-destructive to do it. But Democrats can do it, then Republicans can do it too.
Are searching for their soul in a lot of ways here. Is that Reagan brought together the economic conservatives, the social conservatives, the foreign policy conservatives, etc. He put them all under one umbrella, and right now we're bouncing off each other in not a very good way. And it's really funny. The thing that I take from all this is that my conservative friends, who are far-right conservative friends, have no problem all of a sudden with a guy who clearly on the marital issues and sort of the way that he went through some really nasty divorces, they don't care. I just find it really interesting that, all of a sudden they don't care about the things that they...
Interesting is one word. Totally, hypocritical is another word.
That's, I didn't want to go that far with it, but you're right, man.
And I find it also disturbing, just as the language, again, mentioning in South Carolina in all of the debates and sort of the language of the not so subtle race, race talk, and the fear of people in poverty and do they deserve, what government is giving them in terms of resources. It just doesn't help going into a general election where you'll have to have that haunt you in a general election.
Okay, folks, we've got more to talk about, some local politics to get into. We're going to do that in just a minute. We'll take a break first, then we'll be back with the Consultants Corner. Later on, I'll tell you how you can join the conversation and comment on tonight's program. Stay with us.